Hey everyone, welcome back to the King's Speech. This is Ash. Oh boy, it's good. I've been looking forward to this, getting back into this. I've had hell of a week last week, is dealing with a lot of toxic fans from kind of the One Piece and My Hero Academia fandom, so I was looking forward to kind of getting back into reacting to and reviewing all the weekly Shonen Jump series this week. So a quick little PSA, I did get spoiled on a big reveal for this week's One Piece chapter. I didn't see the panel associated with it, but unfortunately I did find out what happens in it. And it does confirm basically like a long running fan theory, so it wasn't like a major spoiler to me, but still wasn't happy. Kind of got ruined for me, and oh well, nothing I can really do about that. Trying to do my best to avoid spoilers every week, but sometimes, things do get through. What's unfortunate about this one was it was someone that I don't think expected to spoil it. I think they just got caught off guard, so I can't really hold it against them. And they were nice enough to delete their tweet right away. As soon as I told them that they were spoiling it, but still kind of sucks. Anyways, alright, let's get into it first with my One Piece reaction. And it looks like this week we got we got a color spread for Tokyo Girls collection. And we've got Big Mom, Vivi, Hancock, Nami, Nico Robin, Perona, and Tashigi. And I didn't actually saw this color spread, someone tweeted it last week, and I didn't notice this the first time around, but it looks like Shirahoshi's actually there in the background. So you can kind of see her arm and her hair and like her little pink tail flashing on the back. I don't know why Oda included her if he wasn't going to show her face in the panel like along with the other ladies. That seems kind of weird to me, but whatever. But yeah, this is probably my least favorite color spread that we've gotten in a while, because on the one hand, I feel like if you showed this to like a One Piece fan or like even someone that's never seen the series before and you asked them what they thought, I wonder if they'd be able to tell that these are all different women or if they're all just the same women with like different styles and designs, because holy shit, Hancock and Robin are like mirror images of each other. Like, I literally, at the first time I saw this, I could not tell them apart. I literally could not tell which one was which. And like, oh god, like when we first pre-time skip Robin, had a really unique look compared to like all the other ladies in One Piece, and now she's become like a Hancock 2.0 clone, and it just kills me. And then at the far left, like, if it wasn't for the glasses on her hat, I don't think I would have realized that was Tashigi. Because she also went from being like, pre-time skip, super unique looking, to like the most generic clone of Oda's female characters like you could ever find. And this really is like just a showcase of how shitty Oda's track record at handling his female characters has been, like handling their designs has been, because you have Big Mom and 6 identical clones, and it's just ugh. And god, like I have to feel like, is Oda just being like self-referential at this point, just making a joke? Because Chopper's wearing a shirt that says support girls. And man, like the blatant misogyny in One Piece, and just like, is Oda just like really blind to, exactly what he's doing, or does he know what he's doing and he just does not care? I don't know, but it's supremely tiring. Whatever, let's get on with the chapter, because I'm just gonna get mad if I keep looking at that. But chapter 921, Shutenmaru. So it looks like we're gonna finally meet the elusive bandit. So we're back at Kuri Castle, and it's like the place in Kinemon starts with, the place of the fateful battle is an island known as Onigashima. It's the base of operations for Kaido and his Animal Kingdom pirates. An island? And the Brook's like, even within Wano we must cross the sea? Oh boy. And then Kinemon's like, indeed, which means we require ships. But because the isle is visible from the shore, they need not be great sailing vessels. And then Okiku says, the fire festival day on which the battle will take place is the one great festival the people of the city celebrate each year. Kaido is held to be the deity who protects the land. Alright. Knowing the end reveal for this chapter, like, this is a really good hint for what's to come. And it kind of feeds into, a theory speculation thing I've had for a while where I've been like, I've always kind of stated that I believe the Shogun is just a figurehead kind of puppet in Wano, and the Kaido and like potentially someone else are the real kind of power behind the throne. And this makes sense in that regard, like, because I think everyone else assumes that Kaido and the Shogun are kind of allies or at least equals. I don't think that's the case. I could still be wrong, but this really feeds into what you learn at the end of the chapter. Then Okiku continues, on that day, Orochi will lead his shogun's procession on a pilgrimage to Onigashima to pay tribute. But this is merely a pretext. That is where the feast for the magistrates and the Animal Kingdom pirates will begin. And you see, I can't remember the name, but I know there's like a famous gate in Japan that's like this, the kind of Toki gate. It's also in the middle of the sea. So you have one of those, like, at the entrance to Kaido's island. And he says, oh, God, as soon as you introduce Sanji in any chapter, like, my enjoyment of it just plummets to the ground, and like, just sick of this asshole. He goes, I see, so they'll get good and drunk and carry on like a bunch of fools until we burst in and take out their leader. Oh, God. Okay. Watch out, Okiku. If you witness my heroics, you might just fall in love with me rather than that pervy samurai. God, Sanji is literally the most trash character in all of One Piece. If you want to take that as a hot take, go ahead. He is literally the most garbage character in this series. Like, this is just, honestly fucking ruins my enjoyment of the chapter. And then Luffy's like, Kiku's actually super duper tough, Sanji. He's like, women can't protect themselves. I'm Sanji. I'm a misogynistic moron. And then now, Sir Sanji, do not be mistaken. I am a happily married man. What the hell? Kiku is nothing but a comrade of mine. And then Kiku goes, Osuru is doing well, by the way. And he's like, you saw her? He's like, yeah, she didn't recognize this one. What the fuck, man? Okay. Honestly have no idea what to make of this reveal. Like, what the hell? Okay, alright, moving on. And he's like, I see. Well, it's good to know she is fine, but I cannot see her yet. Oh, God, I hope, like, if Osuru doesn't know that Kinemon is alive, I hope the first time she sees him, she just beats the ever-living crap out of him. And then Sanji, God's sakes, this chapter is just, like, it's already killing me and we're like 2 pages into it. You can't have all the ladies, you're married. It's not fair. Nami's like, shut up, Sanji. Oh, thank you, God. Can someone please toss him into a volcano and just, like, we forget that he exists? And then Kinemon continues, we have designed a symbol that indicates the time and meeting place for our uprising. It will take place on the Fire Festival, the twilight second hour of the bird at Habu port. Thus, 2 birds who are on fire over Pit Viper Habu, plus the symbol of rebellion, the reversed crescent moon. So you have the, I think, what is it, like the crane that's the symbol of the Kozuki clan, like 2 crossed ones with their bodies kind of like curling back and on fire. And you have the little half moon crescent below it. And then you have a symbol of, like the almost an infinity symbol of like the snake biting its tail. Now I wonder if that is going to be the Shogun's kind of like symbol or his standard, like the crane is for the Kozuki clan. And I wonder if more than that, apart from just probably like maybe reflecting his personality, I wonder if that relates to his potential devil fruit. In a way, I wonder if he's going to have like some kind of snake powers or just a snake theme. And then Luffy's like, He's like, do not worry, the people of Wano will understand it. The second hour of the bird would refer to the period from 5:30 to 6 o'clock on your foreign clocks, by the way. So, attack in the evening makes sense. It is to those bearing the mark of this moon on their left foot that we must distribute these flyers. That is the symbol of rebellion. They will be our allies. And he pulls out just a huge stack of flyers. Like, bam! He's like, I do not know where they might be found throughout Wano, but our comrades are spread about the land to maximize our reach. Alright, so a quick aside here. I was kind of nervous because I talked about this in my review last week. I was really nervous that Oda was going to kind of jump the gun and go straight to the Fire Festival this chapter, and we kind of just skip over the 2-week preparation. We kind of just get flashbacks to everything they prepared, because that really would have killed a lot of the theories and speculations I had about certain groups showing up on Wano and just like all the setup and things leading up to it. Because I think everyone feels like the Fire Festival is the kind of final showdown between Kaido and the Kozuki clan's forces. I don't think that's the case. I think that'll be the first failure step in the plan, like where they invade during the Fire Festival, get captured, and then they'll have a final battle. So this kind of really sets that up perfectly to kind of get the bigger cast of Wano that I expect to show up ready. But yeah, I'm just glad that we are kind of confirming we are going to go through the 2 weeks up to the Fire Festival and kind of meet like all the major players. And so to maximize their reach, Sir Zorojuro and Sir Usohachi are engaged in this mission in the capital. And then Luffy's like, oh, I bet Zoro's not helping with that at all. Yeah, that's good. And he's like, and to ensure we do not get lost, once we have disembarked on Onigashima, we have Sir Franosuke working as an apprentice to the carpenter who built Kaido's mansion, that we might gain plans to it. Ah, yes. In order to keep tabs on the movements of Orochi's forces, Lady Orobi is in his palace as a geisha, attempting to reach closer and closer to Orochi. I understand that she has been popular. God, this is like the only thing I'll ever agree with Sanji on, who's just like freaking out going, I want to see Geisha Robin. I mean, this is like Oda's justification for like why Robin needed to be geisha. She's like, oh, she's infiltrating the palace to like collect intel. I feel like, she still could have done it other ways rather than, having to be a geisha, like fall into like the very stereotypical woman's role that she had to fulfill to do this. But honestly, at least I'm glad for what this is setting up, and I'll talk about this closer to the end, because this like so much of the setup right now is feeding into like all my ideas perfectly, and I love it. Excuse me. So then Kinemon's like, Sir Brook's ability will help us to procure food supplies in the capital. And Brook's like, huh? It will? And then Kinemon's talking. Nami's like, Lady Nami's weather control is practically ninjutsu. She will be a kunoichi. And Nami's like, a female ninja? Ah, God's sakes. And Sir Sanji's cooking will attract attention and help us in our quest to find others. And of course, Sanji's like, Kunoichi Nami. And Lady Carrot, Sir Chopper, you and Kiku will go to join Dogstorm. And Chopper's just being adorable. He's like, I want to be a ninja too, Kinemon. And he's like, place these leaves on your heads. And then Nami's like imagining herself as a ninja, wearing like the stereotypical like black garb. And she's got like, that Japanese thieves mask, like where they have the bag and just like the strap tied around your nose and your mouth. And he goes, here goes, garb jutsu. And then poof, yowza, Brook is dressed up like, stereotypical ghost from like, Japanese folklore. He's got arrows sticking everywhere, and he's got a claw. He's like wearing a kimono with holes in it everywhere. Carrot's dressed like, like a typical serving girl. She's got the little kerchief on her head, and she's wearing a kimono. Oh, God's sakes. Oh, the misogyny in this chapter is just, like, off the charts, even with, like, Oda's typical garbage. Nami's wearing, like, the shortest fucking, like, I don't even know if this thing fucking qualifies as a kimono. It's so goddamn short. Like, it's like she's wearing a child's t-shirt that's, like, cropped here. And of course, Sanji's freaking out, being the fucking pervy he is. He's like, "Woo, Nami!" And then, of course, you got Chopper. Adorable Chopper's got a little sword scabbard on his back, and he's wearing like the stereotypical ninja garb. He's like, "I'm a ninja." Ah, man. I mean, I should have expected this from Oda, but Lord, I am not happy with that. He's like, "Now that you're all acclimated to Wano, you may go about your missions." And then Nami's like, "Hang on, Kinemon, is this really how a kunoichi dress is?" And Kinemon, back to his pervy old nasty self, is like, "It is exactly how a kunoichi dress is." And his nose is just like dripping blood. He's like, "Why do I get the feeling that you're lying?" Oh, God's sakes. Now, I just want to touch on this really quick before I get further, but last week there was the whole speculation on whether Okiku, is potentially either is transgender in some way. So either Okiku is a transgender woman, or she is like the Okama, she's like someone dressed in drag potentially. I find it like, Kinemon's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm married, whatever, Okiku, there's nothing going on between me and Okiku, we're just friends." That could explain why he's not like perving out over her like he is with Nami. He's just like, "Oh, I don't see you that way because you're a friend, or I'm just not attracted to you." But it's like the contrast between how he's reacting to Nami and how he's reacting to Okiku is kind of really playing into that idea that Okiku is, trans. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I feel like it's really setting up, like, Oda has a terrible track record with his treatment of women, with his treatment of the transgender characters. So I'm not sure how I feel about this idea of Okiku potentially being a transgender woman, because if she is, and he doesn't, and he's not, my biggest worry right now is that he's using her, as the punchline for a transphobic Sanji gag, where like Sanji's like, "Oh, what, you're not actually like, a biological woman, you're just a man pretending to be one." It's like he's going to set up that transphobic crap. I'm hoping that's not where he's going with this. And the fact that Okiku, if she is transgender, he hasn't gone as over the top with her as he has with characters like, Bon Clay, Ivankov, and like the rest of the trans characters from Peachy Kingdom, who are just like more over the top, kind of like towards the drag queen end. So if he is going to do a transgender character, and this is Okiku, I hope he does, do her more justice than he normally does for his other characters. And if she ends up being the punchline for a gag, I'm going to be so fucking pissed. Like, I will be unbelievably pissed. But, either way, like, we'll have to wait to see how it plays out. Because, like, again, the contrast between how Kinemon's reacting to her and Nami's kind of got me a little bit on edge. But there's nothing confirmed yet. Let's continue on. I want to point out something else about that at the end, but I'll finish reading the chapter before I get to that. So Kinemon's like, "Now allow me to summon your guide. She is a true kunoichi." He's like, "Shinobu, Katunk." God, and then Sanji, Brook, of course, are purring out because they're just like, "Oh yeah, a real kunoichi. Now this is a treat." And then, "I heed your call." And Nami, justifiably slaps Kinemon. She's like, "She looks completely different." He's like, God's sakes, like, the gags this chapter are just completely ruining my enjoyment of it. Chopper's just like, "Oh, Sanji's shivering, he's going into shock." Seriously, I just hope he fucking dies. Like, the trashiest character in One Piece. Like, my God, how the hell, I'm sorry, Sanji fans, how the hell do you see anything in this asshole like that's likable? How do you see anything in this? I don't want to even like talk about that asshole right now. And Luffy's like, "What are you dressed as, Brook?" It's like, "I thought I was a man with panties on his head, but I was wrong." Again, like, I love Brook as a character, but these stupid perv jokes with like the panties and this and that is just completely ruining my enjoyment of his character. Because this is something I've complained about before, but reducing the characters down to just like one note gags or personality traits has really been hindering these series post time skip, and this is just like more of the same. So Kinemon's like, "These are your two options," and then you see Nami like adjusting her dress to, put it properly and not look like complete garbage. And she's like, "As long as I put it on right, it'll do." And then he goes, "Well, isn't it nice to be young? My name is Shinobu. In the past, I was Master Kin's honorary little sister. Now, not so much. My specialty is the seduction jutsu." And, oh, Lord. Like, of course, Oda with Shinobu has to go to, like, the extreme other end of his female designs, where she's kind of a cross between Miss Merry Christmas and, like, Chiffon. Like, a cross between those two. But, he's going with, like, the typical dumpy one. It's like, oh, look, the gag of, oh, she used to be sexy and she's not anymore. Bet you anything, if we ever get a flashback to Shinobu as, like, a younger person, she'll be one of Oda's stereotypically, like, sexy women. Oh, God. Sanji gags again. He's like, "If Nami weren't here, my spirit would be broken." And then she's like, "I understand, young man. Nothing is more deadly than a mature woman." So then Kinemon's like, "We will split apart to various regions until the eventual gathering." Yes! Sorry, getting excited, but, like, really reading well into my speculation stuff right here. "But there are 3 samurai in particular who must be sought out. They will give us the strength of 100. Kawamatsu, Denjiro, and Ashura Doji. Like us, they are once servants of Lord Oden. I am certain they are still alive." Now, I've talked about this before, but I am like 80% sure that Ashura Doji has some kind of connection to Weevil. I'll explore that at the end, but like 80% sure. And then we have the one on the left side of the page, the one with the little doom sound effect over his hat. That looks very similar to that missing 5th retainer we saw with Kinemon and Co. at Kuri Castle. I suppose Oden Castle, Kuri Castle, doesn't matter. One that was kind of shadowed, like we didn't see him travel to the future with the rest of them. So either Kawamatsu or Denjiro looks like that missing retainer. The next page, Okabore Town. "It's the Atamayama Thieves Brigade. Run away, clear out of town. Give it back. That was from Luffy Taro. Luffy Taro gave that to us, and looks like the mother from last chapter, does look like she's the one to sacrifice her child. Have a very stereotypical looking samurai. Is like, "Shut up!" And she kicks her out of the way. Like, "These guys got some pretty sweet swag, Shutenmaru. Fruit, sake, rice, the whole shebang. They don't deserve this. Give it back. That's for my grandkids." And you see the old grandpa from the last chapter. He's like, "Shut up, Grams. Just kick the bucket already." And you see a giant bull kind of looming in the background. So looks like Shutenmaru is not really Robin Hood after all. He's like, "Now I say, who's doing all this? Giving the people food, acting the hero? Well, that's a short-lived dream. We steal it, and that's that. No samurai around to protect the weak and helpless." Then we have Chief Atamayama Thieves Brigade Shutenmaru. Oh, man. Alright, I wonder if within like a page my theory was proven wrong, because Shutenmaru's like hair, like he's got the curly kind of puffy hair, like the top knot, that looks exactly the same as Ashura Doji's silhouette from the previous chapter. So I wonder if this is Ashura Doji. Now my theory's tossed out the window, because on the one hand I feel like this could just be a massive red herring, Because if this is a Shuradoji and he was one of Oden's 9 retainers, I couldn't see him kind of coming into the town that Oden protected and that he was originally the leader of, and going back to like reverting back to his old self and like stealing from the poor people. And given like Oda's propensity to kind of toss so many red herrings at us post time skip, I feel like this is another one. But again, like if it was a Shuradoji, I don't know why he wouldn't introduce him as a Shuradoji right away and ask Shutenmaru now, but I guess we'll get into that into the end. And he's like, there ain't no real men left in this land to lead powerful samurai. Wano is finished. That line kind of really feeds into that, because he's just like, that could be him just speaking about Oden, being like, Oden was a real man, like, but there's no more of that anymore. But if he was a Shuradoji, wouldn't he have had like the whole 20-year pact with the rest of the samurais? This feels like a red herring to me. And you see a grandma, just that looks like she's praying. For a second I thought the grandma was wielding a sword and she's about to cut down Shutenmaru, but no, it looks like someone else has just like got their sword in the foreground. It's like, hear that, Gramps? No use clinging to life. All you see around you is cruel reality. Like, please don't do this, Mr. Thief. Run away, old woman. And then Ashura Doji's... So he was riding like this giant bull, and he's like reclined on it like a lazy boy, propping his feet up on its horns, and he's taking the drink from like his giant jug of sake. So he climbs down, he's like, I will slice her myself. And someone's crying, "Wah, Grandma." And she's still praying. She goes, I still believe the words of Lady Otoki. And he's like, dead woman. I believe that the 9 samurai will fulfill Lord Oden's wish. It's like, fool, there's no battle to fight without a general to lead. See, this is like where Oda's like obviously choosing to remain very mysterious about, is this a Shuradoji or not? And I feel like this feeds directly into the red herring thing where he wants us to think it is, but like, again, I'll get to a theory I have at the end about who it really is, but I don't think it's Shutenmaru. In the background you hear, "Gya, Shutenmaru, gwa," and you hear kaboom. And it's like, it's him, Shutenmaru, kaboom. And then, at last we meet leader of thieves. A pirate should have come here. His name is Straw Hat Luffy. And then we have Animal Kingdom Pirates lead performer Jack. It's like, yes, one of Kaido's forces went and dug him out of the bottom of the ocean where he was resting. So he's sitting cross-legged on what looks like a giant land shark. Like, a really cool little tattoo over its eye. And he's got his, his 2 little curved swords out. He's like, if I tell you I don't know the guy, will it change your attitude? And he says, the only reason we have let you live at all is because Kaido wishes to have you as a subordinate. And he goes, in that case, and Shutenmaru just dodges forward with a da-dum sound effect. He goes, here's your answer. And Jack's just like, huh? Alright, I did not expect this, but Shutenmaru breaks one of Jack's swords and just like sliced him diagonally with a slash. And it's got like this little flower petals in the background. And he goes, don't play games with samurai. And Jack's like, and he's just like spitting up blood. And he crumbles. He's like, Master Jack. He's like, curse you. And then he turns around and crosses blades with him. This was like, what a high level battle. Like, okay, now this is impressive because I thought Shutenmaru was just going to be like a scrub for Jack. But Jack fought Cat Viper and Dogstorm for 10 days, and I don't think we ever saw him actually like with any kind of damage from that fight. And with one slash, Shutenmaru's kind of like made him cough up blood. So like, holy hell, this guy must be powerful. Again, like, really feeding in this idea this is a Shuradoji. He's like, getaway people, Shutenmaru and Jack have begun to fight. They'll raise Okabore town to the ground. And you see them just exchanging some more blows. And Shutenmaru goes, I won't be killed by a mere underling like you. I already lost my chance for a meaningful death. Master Jack, there in the sky. And then you see clouds just starting to swirl. It's like, is it? But why? It's like, and then you go to Law and his crew just watching the same thing. He's like, what's going on over there? Is it going to rain? Law's like, no. He's like, Straw Hat, come here at once. It's like, what's up, Traffy? It's like, there's something in the sky? He's like, that looks bad, Straw Hat. He's like, you're kidding me. Why? He's like, hey, Jack. He's like, yes, sir. Bring those children to me at once. A dragon? What is that? And he's like, that's Kaido. Doom. To be continued. Okay, so this is what I got spoiled on like last week. Someone was freaking out on Twitter being like, oh my god, Kaido's a dragon? And like, he looks very, very, very Shenlong, like from Dragon Ball. He's got the two curving horns like the normal ones he usually has. And this leads into my theory I have, for something else I'll bring up. But he's got like these two kind of curling deer horns coming out of the top of his head. And he's got that mane of black hair. It's like just rippling all down his side. And you can see on his arm, like on his left side arm where he has that tattoo, skull tattoo on his arm. But man, okay, so I have to give props to Greg Werner from the One Piece podcast. He's the official writer for OnePiece.com. I think most of you already know him. If not, he's at Ochimusha108 on Twitter. He called this all the way back in Punk Hazard, when he's talking about like Kinemon and Momo's reactions to, or maybe not Punk, I think he called in Dressrosa when they were talking about Punk Hazard during the recap. But he called it when he said, Kinemon and Momo's reactions to the dragons on Punk Hazard, the Western style dragons, made him like heavily consider the idea that Kaido is more than likely a dragon. Like, he brought up two options, like either Kaido's going to be either a dragon or a lion, because those are the two creatures that Oda found is like really powerful. Like, he thinks like they're like the bee's knees. So props to him. He did call this all the way back, during that time. And this feeds into a theory of mine where I'm like, that fake devil fruit that Vegapunk created, the original smile that Momo ate on Punk Hazard, was created after Vegapunk experimented on Kaido. And this to me just cements that fact that that's what happened. Like, curling deer horns on the top kind of gave it away, but like just looking at the design, I'm 100% sure that I'm right. And I'm also going to say that when we see Kaido's dragon form like fully colored, either in a cover page or like whatever, I'm betting he's either going to be colored red or green after Shenlong. I'm going with red. I think he's going to be a red dragon with like black scales. And this again feeds into my idea that if Momo's devil fruit is supposed to be a knockoff of the original Zoan dragon devil fruit, that's why it's pink. I feel like because diluted red would look close to like a kind of pink shade, like really diluted. That's why I feel like, again, really feeds into my idea for a lot of my theories about Kaido's origin, but that one I'm assured of is Vegapunk experimented on Kaido to create that devil fruit. Alright, so let's get into some speculative and other stuff. Alright, first, rating for this chapter. I think I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Honestly, this was a really good chapter for like a lot of setup for speculative stuff I've had brewing for a long time now. I'm really glad that, we are going to see the Straw Hats split up, get together, bring allies together and all that. And then have, before they invade Onigashima. Really happy for that. But, like, the Sanji pervert gags, like, all the misogyny in this chapter is, like, why I gave it such a low score, because it really, really, really did ruin my enjoyment of it. I mean, like, I've talked about this before, but Sanji is not only like within the Straw Hats alone, he is the most toxic character you could possibly create. I know people are like, oh, why don't you pick on the flaws of like the other Straw Hats? Like, Zoro's misogynistic as well. Like, all of them have their flaws. They have their flaws, but Sanji has the most toxic personality traits. And the fact that Oda has normalized him is what makes him the worst. First of all, he's a misogynist. Like, that alone is like major strike points against him. Second one, we're supposed to think of him as like this noble white knight that protects women, and that's why he won't attack them and he loves women and all that crap. I wrote an entire piece about this like during Whole Cake Island, so I'll just point you to that. I'll put it in the link below for my video review, but you can't pretend that Sanji's some kind of like noble white knight that loves women when he goes around sexually assaulting them all the time. And like, again, the fact they're trying to normalize that behavior is what makes him toxic. And then we have finally, the transphobia and the homophobia. Two, again, of the worst traits you could possibly have in a human. And in a series like One Piece, you're talking about inclusivity and diversity being like two of the main core ideals. Having a character in, one of the most diverse crews in this series holding to that belief of, being homophobic and transphobic and like excluding people based on why they're different, again, like makes him the crappiest and shittiest character in One Piece. And I fucking hate him so goddamn much. Like, I cannot. If we knocked him out of the series right now, I wouldn't miss him. I would just be so much happier. My series enjoyment would go massively up if we just got rid of him. And I mean, like, this whole bit where he's freaking out because Okiku's not interested in him was like the most pathetic fucking garbage I've ever seen out of him before. Like, it's not even a funny gag. It's just terrible. And Kinemon kind of like feeding into that by allowing me like sexy dresses to wear and things was just like the icing on the cake to kill that. But we'll move on to the other stuff. The Fire Festival. Now, everything we found on this chapter, like, oh, the Straw Hats are going to, plan, and like they're going to get the plans for the castle, and they're going to build the ships and everything. This really does feed into my idea that Kaido is going to set a reverse trap for them. Because I know, remember when Wano first started, we had the thing of like, oh, Kaido and Big Mom were talking. And Big Mom was like, you have to hand Luffy over to me along with the other Straw Hats because they dishonored me and I need to get my revenge on them. And she's like, you owe me a debt, Kaido. So if we're going to have Big Mom show up in a reasonable way, not just be like, oh, she's just going to show up and have the thing, I can only envision it happening one way. Because if Big Mom, I don't think the Straw Hats can take on Big Mom and Kaido at the same time. It's not going to happen. The only way I imagine happening is they go to the Fire Festival, they try to do everything as they want, set the plan up to take the Shogun out. It fails. Kaido sets up his reverse trap, captures them, imprisons them. Then he calls Big Mom and tells her, hey, all right, Linlet, I've got the Straw Hats here. I got them locked up, come and collect them and take them back, and then our debt's done. All right, Straw Hats, if they find out about it, however they do, from like the forces that didn't get captured, because I don't think all of them, if they get captured, I'm going to assume that some of them will get away and only be like the main big fighters, like the Monster Trio, and those guys will get captured and thrown in jail. But if they find out that, Big Mom's coming here with her forces to take us back, that kind of sets the incentive for them to end this quickly, where they're just like, we cannot, if Big Mom gets here, we're not going to win this battle against Kaido. So that gives them the chance to break out, stage an attack, get rid of Kaido and his forces, and flee before Big Mom reaches Wano. So by the time she gets there, I can then see her being like, oh, where the hell did Straw Hat go? Learning that their next destination, which I'm going to say is more than likely going to be Elbaf, and being like, all right, we're chasing them to Elbaf, I'm going to end my feud with the Giants as well. Boom, you got the Big Mom arc starting right after Wano. And like, again, like that's the only way I really see it feeding. And it feeds into the idea, because last chapter we had, Kinemon being like, oh, well, we don't want to have an all-out war with Kaido and his forces because, it's not beneficial to us. He's getting his all-out war. Like, again, Greg Warner, One Piece Podcast, was suggesting this a long time ago, where he's like, he expects a battle to take place because Japan's made up of 4 like big main islands, and he's like, I expect battles to be taking place on all 4 of those main islands. I can see that happening. Calamity on each island with their forces, and the Straw Hats send one of their major guys to each island, and then Kaido and then Luffy will throw down on the other places. I still expect that to happen, so I don't think Onigashima is going to be the last kind of stand for the Straw Hats and crew. Then Onigashima itself, again, I posted this on Twitter, because when we see Caribou in his cover story, he lands up on, fake artificial island with like metal trees, metal mountains, like everything's made of metal. I'm pretty sure that's what Onigashima is. I'm not sure if it's an artificial island built on top of a real one, or if the entire thing is just like a giant floating artificial island. But again, I'll link this theory below. This feeds into my idea for that Kaido is himself a chimera, like he's an artificial creature that was created by the government, and his environment kind of reflects that. I'll link the full theory I wrote for the podcast in the link below, but like this really feeds into kind of that idea. And then what else? Shutenmaru. I still feel like it's a red herring. Like you can let me know on Twitter what you all think, but I feel like Ashura Doji, when Kinemon talked about him, like with Oden, and what he was like, he said, Ashura Doji was known as the demon child. Now, if that's supposed to be like literal, like he's an actual like child, no, I don't think physically, but mentally, that really feeds well into Weevil, because I feel like Weevil has some kind of connection to Moria, because we see the little circular surgery scars around his arm and around his neck, which makes me think something happened to him when he was stitched back together. If not the corpse, I feel like at least the shadow animating the body is that of Ashura Doji. And like this is again long held theory of mine, I feel like Weevil has to be coming to Wano, and he's going to ally with the Straw Hats at some point. So if it turns out he is Ashura Doji, and if seeing Momonosuke reminds him of Oden, I could see that being how they ally together. So he's just like, oh, your father was my only friend, of course I'll join forces with you. I could be wrong. We could find out next chapter that no, Shutenmaru actually was Ashura Doji. Like there's a lot of hints in this chapter just hinting towards it, but again, I'm going to kind of lean towards that end. And then with Okiku, I'm hoping, I will be supremely disappointed. Like, I'm not even going to pretend like I'm being objective or unbiased about this. If Tashigi doesn't show up on Wano, I'm going to be pissed off. I'm going to say that Zoro's character arc is going to be garbage. Because if Oda does not deal with whatever, Zoro's hangups with what happened to Kuina and Tashigi and her looking to the same, don't get cleared up on Wano, an arc about samurai and swords and all that, I can't see it being addressed in any other arc. I can't see it being done in Elbaf or another future arc, especially when we know Wano is going to be at least somewhat Zoro focused. So if we don't get Tashigi coming here, I'm going to be annoyed. And if she does, I'd like her and Okiku to meet. Okiku being a powerful female samurai, I feel like Tashigi can draw some inspiration from that to kind of get over her own kind of mental block about, women cannot be powerful warriors. And so I'd like to see that interaction between the two playing out, just like the one to inspire the other or vice versa. But again, this is all just massive speculation for what's going on. Overall, a decent chapter, but ultimately it was just a setup for what's going to happen. I am looking forward to what's coming next, but how's about it? Before I wrap this up, one final comment. Again, another idea I had was, if Momonosuke's fruit really is like a discount version of Kaido's, I'm expecting in the final battle, like between him and Luffy, that Luffy's gonna take to the sky in a battle with Kaido, in Momonosuke in full dragon form, and we're gonna see like a full-on aerial battle. But again, like the hows wise for all that happening really depend on a certain cast of characters showing up to Wano, and we still had to wait for that. Oh, one last thing before I forget. I sort of mentioned this last week, but I was doing some research on Okiku, and apparently, there's a myth about a yokai in Japan, named Okiku. And I'm not sure how many of you or know of this place, but in Japan, there's a very famous place called Himeji Castle in Tokyo. Beautiful big white castle, like situated on like not a mountain, but like a high elevation, like little hill area. And I went there when I went to Japan. I think last year when I went to Japan, I went there. And outside in the courtyard, they have this well. It's supposedly where the origin of this myth came in. But the mythos is that Okiku used to be a servant girl who was working for her lord, and one of her retainers, one of the lord's retainers wanted Okiku to marry him. Of course, Okiku refused because he's like, I don't like you, etc., etc. So the retainer hid one of the lord's plates, and blamed the crime on Okiku. So the lord called Okiku in, and he's like, Okiku, what happened to my plates? Now, what's interesting is there was 10 plates in the myth, and Okiku's only managed to find 9. So she kept counting them out, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 9, and she could never find that missing 10th plate. Because, of course, he had hidden it, but she knew she didn't steal it. So, of course, the Lord thinks she did, and he had her beaten and then drowned in the well. And mythos go, sometimes you'll hear, a ghostly voice counting out, 1 to 9 for the missing plates and, like, wailing about how she couldn't find that missing plate. But Oda's seems to have very directly drawn inspiration from that mythos for his story already, because you have that giant sumo, I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but you had him, trying to make moves on Okiku and she was refusing. So I wonder if that's going to tie into the mythos part later on with her. But what's also interesting, those 10 plates, if you count Oden and the Akazaya 9, that's 10 people, that were prominent in... Those 10 people prominent in the Kozuki clan. 13 total if you count, Toki, Hiyori, and Momonosuke, bringing it up to 13. Again, long-held theory of mine that we're eventually going to see 13 final members of the Straw Hat crew. And I originally drew inspiration by that, being like, what if Oda drew from Christian theology and based kind of like on Jesus and his 12 disciples, and that's why you had the 13. So if we have the same number in the Kozuki clan, I wonder if they have their own Judas. Because I was thinking back to Oden's whole, getting captured by the Shogun, taking the flower capital. Could that have been because of, a retainer? Because I feel like if Oden knew what was happening, or unless the Shogun knew that, he's going to be a threat to be going on, I feel like Oden would have gotten out of there. So it makes me wonder if one of the retainers potentially betrayed the Kozukis and sold them out to the Shogun and Kaido. Because, again, Kinemon mentioned last chapter that anyone that's a supporter of the Kozukis will have that crescent-shaped mark on their ankle. So could we potentially see someone meeting with the Shogun and Kaido with that mark on their ankle, and we don't know who it is, but we know they were working for the Kozuki clan? Because this is the other one I keep forgetting stuff I was going to bring up, but this is the last kind of point I want to talk about. I think the popular theory right now is that Hiyori is Otama, Momonosuke's younger sister, and that she's just sent to a different time period, and that Hitetsu is the missing retainer, so he's either he's either Kawamatsu or Denjiro. And it does feel like because everyone knows that, like, Momonosuke is based on the whole Momotaro Peach Boy myth, where a boy goes on an adventure to the island of ogres. Like a couple found a giant peach. When they cut it open, a boy came out, and they're living on this place was being terrified by an ogre. So the boy, to pay the couple back, goes to the island of the ogre to take him out. And on the way, he meets a dog, a monkey, and a pheasant, that he feeds millet dumplings. He recruits them as allies to his cause, and they go and take down the demon. Now, everyone's like, oh, Momotaro myths fit perfectly so far, because you have Dogstorm as the dog, you have Luffy as the monkey, and we're possibly going to get the pheasant. A lot of fans speculated it was Marco. Now it might be someone else that fills in that role. But you've also got that mimicked with Otama, whose literal powers are she makes millet dumplings, which is exactly what Momotaro gave to those three animals to kind of recruit them to his side. And we've seen that, Otama already has a dog as a friend. She fed millet dumplings to that baboon we saw at the start of Wano to make it her friend. If she does the same for a pheasant, that, again, perfectly mirrors the Momotaro myth. And again, that would be the very obvious thing to put together. Like, okay, obviously Otama, is Hiyori, and she and Momonosuke do look really similar, so that could feed perfectly well into each other. But I wonder, again, like, because it's so blatantly obvious, is it another red herring by Oda? Because, again, this was something I've been speculating on way before Wano even started. But if you're going to have Zoro's character arc on Wano center around his relationship to, the women in his life, like, Kuina Tashigi, I was always like, I'm just like, rather than having him fight, like, the Shogun or other male opponent where you have the typical cycle of, Zoro's not powerful enough, person beats him, he has to find a power-up, then he goes back and manages to knock them out. I've always wanted to kind of see a female opponent for Zoro, because I feel like that feeds into the cycle a little bit better, and be a way for Oda to kind of be like, okay, Oda kind of ramp down on his misogyny, and go back to the Oda of old. And I know this is probably just wild speculation and I'm crazy wrong, and it's probably not going to happen, just like this chapter kind of really puts a kink in that plan. But what if Hiyori is that person? Because the One Piece podcast in the last episode were like, speculating on what if Hiyori didn't travel forward in time and she's actually, older, and they don't recognize her because she's a lot older. That could feed perfectly in, like, what, this is an idea I've had, is what if the Shogun or Kaido, took Hiyori as their own daughter and raised her during those 20 years. And, she's become like one of their main big forces. Like, she's either become one of Kaido's calamities or like one of his other ones, or the Shogun's. And what if she turns out to be Zoro's opponent? That would be a great tie-in to the story, because so one thing I'm thinking about is Momonosuke's eventual end goal is to become Shogun of Wano. And I'm like, alright, it could easily happen at the end of Wano, when the Straw Hats leave, they put Momo on the throne, etc., that all works. But this chapter kind of at least pushes me towards my other idea that I've talked about before. But the Marines have repeatedly talked about, the reason Wano's not part of the world government is that they've never been able to induct it because they've just been too powerful. Like, they haven't, as Akainu said whenever he started, the samurai of Wano are an unknown military force. Right? They're supremely powerful. They don't know how many of them there are. They don't know what their strength is like, which is kind of why the world government's kind of backed away from invading them. And this is theories I tossed out, but when Koala met with Dragon, she said the weapons shipment that Doflamingo had contained a special mineral called drunken iron ore, which can only be found in a few select countries. And we know Doflamingo's dealing with Kaido, and Kaido's got weapons factories on his island, or on Wano, which is more than likely the very wet ones, the very same mineral that he's used to, ship the weapons. So if Koala specifically told Dragon, if we can find out where these weapons are coming from, like if we can find out there's only a few specific islands that make this metal, so we can narrow down which ones it's from, we can find out who's producing it. I've got to imagine the world governments can do something similar. Like, I feel like when CP0 and them got to, Baltigo after Blackbeard and his crew showed up, if they found a few of those weapons and they were able to do the same thing, I feel like they could logically narrow it down to the idea that Wano is where these weapons are coming from because it's the only place that's big enough to have enough deposits to make all these weapons. And, Reverie, again, Wano was brought up as being like, they're not part of the world government. And the kings and queens are specifically point out that, maintaining a huge army like this, we need money and resources. And if drunken iron ore is like a really precious metal, I am 100% positive that, I have two theories in this. One will be that Akainu is going to send an infiltration force into Wano to discover exactly what the situation is, especially if they find out that that metal is from there. He'll need to send in a force to find out, are they making weapons? What the hell's going on? Once that happens and they report back, whatever force, if they get sent and reports back to him, yes, they have weapons, yes, they have a powerful military force, I could see Akainu taking, his forces, his newly conscripted army, to Wano, forcefully inducting them into the world government, and boom, you got resources, and you got powerful samurai you can now conscript into the army because, hey, Wano is now a part of the world government. And again, that feeds perfectly into my idea that if he wants to take out the pirates, he's going to want to recruit as many powerful soldiers as he can. And Wano is just too much of a big unknown for him to leave alone. So that kind of feeds into my idea of what if does that mean for Momonosuke if he becomes shogun at the end of the arc? Does that mean he's just going to, become a figurehead puppet for Akainu and co. on whatever happens? But if it turns out Hiyori, was adopted by the shogun, I'd have to double check her age to see how old she actually is. But if she was 4 I think she was 4 when we saw her in the flashback, 20 years later she'd be 24 right now. So if it turns out it's true, and if she's taken over, if the shogun's raised her as his daughter, she's learned everything from him, that again would be an huge progressive move for Oda. Is like, no, we'll have a woman take over the role of shogun of Wano for right now, that way Momonosuke can go travel with the Straw Hats, grow up, learn what it means to be a leader, and when he's ready, he can come back and take over the throne. Massive speculation. I could be completely wrong. Oda is not really helping my case with that, just with his general treatment of women, like all the stuff in this chapter. But I feel like that would be a cooler story arc than just, it just turns out Otama was actually, Hiyori and just like Hitetsu was a retainer. Again, this is all just like idle leaf in the thought kind of wins, depending on what the chapters going forward kind of show. All of this could be proven to be bullshit, but again, this is what I talk about, like being a theorist is like me trying to look at the story and kind of consider what the possibilities are based on what Oda's given us. So I feel like it fits, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm wouldn't say excited for the next chapter, but I'm intrigued by the possibilities of what it brings. All right, so we're just to wrap it up now. A couple of quick updates. So there'll be no My Hero Academia review this week because I don't think there's a chapter because Horikoshi's taking a break. But I will be on the MHA podcast this week. We're going to be doing a catch-up review of the anime from season 1. So we're going to be going over episodes 4 and 5 today. If you're not already following them on Twitter, please do. MHA Pod on Twitter. Listen to their episodes. Absolutely great bunch of ladies running the podcast, very enthusiastic. And it's a pleasure being on there every week and talking My Hero Academia. And then I'm also adding a couple of more new series to my weekly reviews. So I caught up with Dr. Stone this week, so expect a reaction review to the newest chapter of that. But also I'm looking at also putting Hunter x Hunter into the rotation. I'm still catching up with it, so it won't be on this week's reaction review. I'm only at about chapter 70 right now. I think there's like 300 something chapters. So I'm going to hopefully try to catch up on it this week and then have a reaction review ready for next week. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction review. If you want, hit me up on Twitter. Please let me know what you thought about the chapter. Am I freaking out, or was Oda's misogyny really just kind of overboard this chapter? And if you only logged in for my One Piece reviews, I will talk to you next week.